how wedded are you to a complete and full DRS system before the next Parliament? Or, how much would you accept a form of it, i.e., trials in stores? Because we haven't properly trialled this. We have trialled it with plastic and with aluminium, but a full-scale trial has not yet taken place. And
I'm not talking about trials, but I'm also not expecting it to be. I mean, I'm talking about having the button pressed, kind of, within the term of this Parliament. But that doesn't, I'm not. In order to have it completely, fully up and running within the term of this Parliament, then the time would be much more foreshortened. I'm presuming that, as we go through this next couple of years, which is effectively now 2 years. That we get to a point where we're pressing the button on the system. I don't want to minimise the challenge, but I also need to remind everybody, including Heineken, that you're already operating in countries where this happens as a matter of course.
In a return system, yeah, where the bottles are reused.
Yeah, so we're not inventing something here. It's new for Scotland, but it's not new for the world. It's not something that we have thought up out of thin air. We've taken time to go and look at schemes and consider in those circumstances what is best for Scotland, and therefore we also know that there are plenty of other schemes for people to look at the actual operation of, and the mechanism of making it industry-led. I had anticipated that I would get some political pushback on the fact that it was an industry-led scheme that we were suggesting, as opposed to a state-run scheme. I had anticipated there might be some people would come back and say, well, why isn't the government setting that up? But we've chosen to do it the way we've chosen to do it because of what we have seen in other countries. So I'm hoping that people don't approach this as if somehow there's just a blank piece of paper and everything has to be invented from the start. That isn't my view, because there's an awful lot of really good work being done in other countries, particularly Norway, places like that, who are already running very good schemes that we can get some of those lessons and expertise from. So it isn't just about starting from nothing.
We applaud the initiative to include glass from the beginning, so to avoid any distortion in the market. So as many packaging as possible. It's fantastic to hear that. We have a concern just on the idea of just having a flat fee of 20p, and if the government is considering maybe a variable fee. Especially, as you say, like you're trying to replicate other countries, and most Nordic countries, they have a variable fee, including Finland, Denmark, Norway. And we have quite a lot of strong data supporting the consumers who switch from, for example, like multi-pack cans to large PET bottles because of the price point differentiation. And then having a variable fee could help to avoid this risk. And we're happy to share this data with you as well. So, so the question, like, is the government considering implementing a variable fee? And then if 20p is to be implemented, is like for large PET bottles, for example, and cans because of the value and portion control size.
Well, we propose going in on the basis of a 20 pence flat fee. That may become a subject of discussion while the secondary legislation is going through the committee, and it may be one of those things that people want to discuss. I get what you mean if people buy multi-packs of small cans that are normally sold in 6s or 8s or whatever. So that's actually a significant increase in terms of deposit. But of course, I mean, I take the view as well that remember, we're only paying this the first time, and it generates that push to return. So there is a conversation that perhaps people will want to have, and it would be interesting because there wasn't much in terms of the public consultation. There wasn't really much there that suggested a variable fee was something that people were really thinking about. I
mean, in fact, it was the opposite. I mean, interaction with the public was very much be consistent, make it simple, not variable, in terms of the materials, cover as many materials as possible, so people weren't thinking, is this in, is this out, and such like.
We do have some grave concerns, and we've looked at other countries also, Finland, Germany as examples, where the introduction of a DRS including glass, will drive people to use alternative materials. And for us, the concern, grave concern there is that it's going to affect investment in glass manufacturing in Scotland and potentially lead to plant closures and job losses in the future. And we really would like to sit down and get some guarantees that some of these concerns will be addressed.
Well, as I indicated, I don't minimise the issues on both sides of the argument with regard to glass. The Implementation Advisory Group will no doubt consider these issues, as will, I suspect, throughout the process when we get this into Parliament. That will continue to be a conversation. I would anticipate, knowing the way Parliament works, that glass is likely to become the key discussion point. So all I would do is encourage those of you who have concerns about glass, or alternatively are strongly proponents of including glass, to engage with that whole conversation. The point about the process that we will go through in Parliament is that that is still an opportunity for discussion and continued engagement on this, and addressing some of these issues will be presumably part and parcel of that conversation as well. But I go back to the point I made, though. We had to make a decision to include or not include glass. And if glass is not there from the start, all the evidence is it's extremely hard to retro-engineer it in. So therefore, you're almost making a decision from the get-go about that. So I know that there are countries that don't do glass, and I know that there are countries that do glass. So we do have examples. Again, the point I was making here is let's not behave as if there is no information and and this is a purely blank sheet of paper. We can get expertise from elsewhere to manage some of the issues that people are raising. Okay. If I may, just thank the Cabinet Secretary for her time this morning. Thank you.